Have you ever been on a field trip that went horribly wrong? I have. And trust me, after hearing this story, you'll think twice before signing up for your next school outing. It was just another Monday at Westfield High. I remember being so pumped for our class trip to the Science Museum. Everyone was talking about it in the halls. I didn't notice then how Mr. Johnson, our teacher, seemed a bit off. He kept checking his phone and looking worried. As we lined up to board the bus, I felt a chill run down my spine. I brushed it off as excitement. We all piled in, laughing and joking. I sat next to my best friend, Sarah. The bus started up with a weird grinding noise. No one else seemed to care. Looking back, I should have known something was wrong. But how could I? It was supposed to be just another field trip. If only I knew what was waiting for us down that road. The journey takes a dark turn. As we rolled out of the school parking lot, everything seemed normal at first. But about 20 minutes into the drive, I started noticing weird things. The sky got darker, even though it was only 10 a.m. The trees outside looked different, twisted, wrong. I tried to shake it off, but my stomach was doing flips. I glanced at Sarah, who was scrolling on her phone. "Hey, does something feel off to you?" I whispered. She looked up, confused. "What do you mean?" Before I could answer, the bus jerked to the side. A few kids screamed. Mr. Johnson stood up, gripping the seats to stay balanced. "Everything's fine," he said, but his voice was shaky. I looked out the window again. We were on a road I didn't recognize. The trees were so thick now, barely any light got through. My heart started racing. This wasn't the way to the Science Museum. Suddenly, all our phones lost signal at the same time. People started freaking out. "What's going on?" someone yelled from the back. Mr. Johnson tried to calm everyone down, but I could see the panic in his eyes. He went to talk to the bus driver, and I overheard him say, "This isn't the right way. Where are you taking us?" The bus driver didn't respond. He just kept driving, his eyes locked on the road ahead. That's when I saw it. A figure standing in the middle of the road. It looked like a person, but wrong. Too tall, too thin. The bus was heading straight for it. "Look out!" I screamed. The bus swerved hard. Everyone was thrown to one side. There was a loud crash, and then everything went black for a second. When I opened my eyes, the bus had stopped. Smoke was coming from the engine. Outside, fog had rolled in, so thick I could barely see anything. Mr. Johnson stood up, his face pale. "Everyone stay calm," he said. "We're going to—" He was cut off by a sound outside. A long, low moan that didn't sound human at all. That's when I knew. This wasn't just a wrong turn. We were trapped in something much, much worse. Trapped in a nightmare. The moan outside the bus grew louder, and suddenly all hell broke loose. Kids started screaming and crying, trying to get as far away from the windows as possible. I couldn't move. My legs felt like jelly, and my heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst out of my chest. Mr. Johnson was yelling something, but I couldn't make out his words over the chaos. Sarah grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. "We need to get out of here," she whispered, her voice shaking. But where could we go? The fog outside was so thick I couldn't see more than a few feet past the windows, and that thing was out there somewhere. Suddenly, the bus doors flew open with a deafening screech. Cold air rushed in, carrying a smell so foul it made me gag. Someone in the back started throwing up. "Everyone stay in your seats!" Mr. Johnson shouted, but it was too late. People were pushing and shoving, trying to get to the emergency exits. I saw a kid punch another in the face just to get past him. In the chaos, I lost sight of Sarah. "Sarah!" I yelled, but my voice was drowned out by the screams around me. That's when I saw it. A long, skeletal hand gripping the edge of the bus door. It was pale, almost translucent, with fingers that seemed too long to be human. My blood ran cold. As if in slow motion, I watched as a figure began to climb into the bus. It was tall, so tall its head almost touched the ceiling. Its face? God, I'll never forget that face. It had no eyes, just empty sockets that seemed to stare right through me. People were jumping out the windows now, choosing to take their chances in the fog rather than face this nightmare. But I was frozen in place, unable to look away, as the creature took another step into the bus. Its mouth opened, revealing rows of sharp, jagged teeth. And then it spoke, in a voice that sounded like nails on a chalkboard. "Welcome to your final destination. The haunting aftermath." I still have nightmares about what happened next. Somehow, a few of us managed to escape that thing. We ran blindly through the fog, tripping over roots and rocks. I don't know how long we ran before we found a road and flagged down a car. The police never found the bus or the others. They said we must have imagined it all. But I know what I saw. I can still hear those screams. It's been years, but I can't shake the fear. Every time I see a school bus, my heart races. I dropped out of college because I couldn't handle field trips. Sometimes I wake up in a cold sweat, feeling those bony fingers on my skin. So next time you're packing for a field trip, remember my story. Because you never know when a simple bus ride might turn into your worst nightmare.